My people, very, very recently, something really happened and it's been trending about some basic, or not basic, some certain things that a man of God divulged I think is in Port Harcourt. That's Pastor, call him Bishop David Ibiyomi. Yes, about a lot of people have waded into that particular comments of the man of God who actually threatened. It sounds like a threat to people anyway, but it is anyway. When he said anybody who criticized his sermon or his ways of preaching or his doctrines, even when we know that most of these doctrines are are not balanced with the ethics of our religion. But then it's been a popular thing and a public thing that people have accepted over the years. So it becomes like a norm. In Igbo tradition or culture, there's an adage we have, literally means that when deception, lies, has become a way of life, any truth that tries to counter it will look like as if it is a rebel kind of stuff. You get. But then the truth of it is that no matter how long a lie has been peddled, it is still a lie. It can never be truth. You get. So lots of doctrinal imbalances has been in our society today that people somehow look at it and think that's the right thing to do. Meanwhile, that's an error. Because most of the things that come out from the pulpit, I don't want to use that word that's very dark man are using, call it pulpit bandits, and what kind of stuff that people called, even, what's his name, Ebe Damina, Dr. Damina is saying as well. But then, these are people who have been able to study things deeply. The truth about it is that the truth about the whole thing is this. Sometimes these are people who are in this, who are so religious, who are deputy Jesus because of probably a calling, believe that people who don't pull this thing up the way they do it are people who don't know the Bible or people who don't study the scriptures. Everybody who's in this life now has come from the church, including myself. As a matter of fact, we all attended Wolfbeat together, Word of Faith Bible Institute. All of us graduated from there. We would do BCC, LDC, and LCC, and the rest of them. We did those stuff in the Word of Faith Bible Institute under Living Faith Church, Winners Chapel. Now, Ibiyomi too came from there. And then most people are also from that particular place. Yes, that is why once you get that study at a time, that becomes what qualifies you to become, you can be a pastor under the ministry at a time. So, but that's by the way. I think Ibiyomi came from that particular place too. But now, by the way, like I said earlier, when you begin to teach a particular understanding, perception of a Bible, probably where you're using it to, you look at the scriptures, you think this is what is right. That is when flesh is speaking to you, no longer Rema that's talking about. Flesh is now communicating to you. You try the much you can to push that to the people. Like at this particular point in time, many people have been able to stand up today and say, no, everything about tithe has been phased out because that tithe was for the Levites. Who is Levite? You can't be a Levite by proclamation or claiming it and say, I'm a Levite. So the Levites, and then you begin to receive the tithes. No, it's not a proper thing to do. Those time has phased out. Religion we practice now and Christianity we practice now is actually somehow that same religion which people practiced over the years in times of Abraham and the rest of them. That's before the coming of Christ, the time of grace. There was a time of law and the time of grace. So these are different dispensations of the Christendom. People who know what I'm talking about will understand the perspective I'm talking at the point. Now, but for our pastor to come out and say, if you criticize my ministry, criticize my preaching, criticize my teachings, I will arrest you, I will lock you up, I will do this thing. Sometimes I laugh when I hear such threats from a man of God as such. You get? Because it's not appropriate for you to stand up and say such a thing because I wonder, are you talking to touts or are you talking to children? There are people who will not say anything, but they will do things, you see it yourself. You don't need to threaten people. You are still a human being. Before your calling, it's a human being. But when you base your ministry, the challenge now is this. What these ministries do, the churches do, I'm a church boy. I'm a church boy. This is a man from Vandekia. Most of you know this name. You know, we planted that church, Living Faith Church in Vandekia. I was part of the team that started the church. So that's by the way. But what I'm trying to let us understand is, when you base your own ministry on money, finances of people, without impact to a level, people will look at it. When you base that way, people will look at it as if it's the right thing because they actually believed in you. You get? They actually believed in you. So whatever you say, they believe it's right. Not knowing that these are just gimmicks that you use to be able to achieve your end point, which is money. The thing about tithes, like I mentioned earlier, tithes has been phased out. If you look at that tithe thing, people just delve into Malachi chapter 3 verse 9 and pick it up. What does it say? They said, ye have robbed me. They say, which you have robbed in your tithes and offering. He said, bring in all the tithes into my storehouse. Prove me now and see if I will not open the windows of heaven to pour you out a blessing that you may not be enough room to contain it. That's what the Bible said there. But now that's not what that warning. That's just what he used to acknowledge and correct the prophets of the old who were actually collecting the tithes for the Levites and were not remitting it to them. The real warning of that started in the book of Malachi chapter 2, where he said, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. He was talking to priests. That commandment was not for the church members, for the priests. Read about tithe, even in the book of Exodus, I think, yes. You see what it talks about tithing. I think Exodus or Malachi, Exodus or Leviticus, they talk about tithing. How you can pay your tithe. Tithe is something you eat, not to give to anybody. You take it to a place where the Lord has chosen for you to pay it. If it's heavy, you sell it out and go there and buy something. Whatever you want to eat, your family, commune with people. That's what tithing was about, not giving to the church. Now, that dispensation of the past, and this is what is bedeviling the society today, because people are beginning to wake up subconsciously. People are beginning to wake up to the realities of what the scriptures are saying. So for that reason, there's going to be a kind of conflict with people's understanding of what the Bible said and what the preacher is saying from the pulpit. You get? So there's going to be contradiction. When that contradiction hits up, that's where we'll have a lot of conflicts we're having today. That's why Bishop Ibiyome can come out and threaten the whole world not to criticize his teachings, irrespective of being right or wrong, irrespective of you're teaching the scripture or not, because the scripture is bare, everybody can see them. You get? So my point now is this. Christianity, the way it's been taught before, a lot of things have changed. The generation we are now are beginning to assume responsibility of how it should be done. It's no longer a time when people no longer read Bible, when people no longer search things, because the Bible says, study to show thyself approved. That's Apostle Paul to his son Timothy. Study to show thyself approved. A workman needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. People are doing these things now, dividing the truth right now. Take it from me whether you like it or not. They can Google it. Everything is just there. So you continue preaching the way of the old, it will no longer be appropriate. Many pastors are having issues now. That's why a pastor can come out today and sell his church, and some people onshore the church and disappear. Hand it over to someone else and disappear. A lot of things are going on. There are a lot of things, I don't want to talk much about them because the revelation about those things are too much. But the deception of the preachers, the prophets on the pulpit in the name of making money from people is the angle I'm looking at. It's an error. There's a lot of emotional blackmail. There's a lot of reverse psychology used on people. Because those things come, formally this is how it comes. You'll be on the pulpit, they will throw a particular kind of word to you. Like, there's a way, it comes like a prayer. They tell you, because I've been in church, I'll tell you how these things work. You hear something like, if If you pay your tithes, he will rebuke the devourer. The devourer devouring your finances, your health, your academy, a lot of things. They mention those things. And these are things that people go for in life. People go for knowledge. People go for finances. People want their health, whole health. So when they use this thing now, they begin to use it to be able to get the people's attention. Now, this is the way they put it to you, to your face, and make you sometimes you begin to wonder what's going on. For instance, a pastor can come on the stage, or a prophet, or whatever the name they call it. They will come on stage and tell you, any arrow from your mother's side, from your father's side that's targeted at you, die. Do you know what happened? Subconsciously, we'll be able to place something in your mind to make you believe that someone is chasing you. Meanwhile, nobody chases you. What I've been chasing you is just ignorance of what you're supposed to do that you're not doing right. That's just a problem. You're having financial issues. Your salary is 100,000. Now you make 100,000. Before that 100,000 comes, you have IOUs everywhere. Before the 100,000 comes, you're beginning to think of how you go take play pool. You're thinking of a girlfriend you're supposed to promise money. When you don't have it, you promise people when you don't have money. How? You want to remit it. When you remit it now, the finances you have now, 100,000 at the end of the year will not be anything to you. You still owe. So you think someone is doing you from anywhere. They call it village. Sometimes I laugh. Everywhere you live on earth is a village. Take it from me. Everywhere you live on earth is a village. People develop their towns. Develop into towns. You can develop yours. Nobody chasing from anywhere. As a matter of fact, there's no village as far as I'm concerned. Everywhere is from village. All right? Now, these things happen. And they play it up in your face every day, make you believe that something is wrong with you somewhere, someone is chasing you from somewhere. That is why such a thing is happening. Meanwhile, nothing is happening. It's just probably because of your mistake. So they are just playing around your ignorance. Psychologically, they play around your ignorance, what you believe, and begin to post things, a kind of infuse things in your mind to make you believe that this is what it is. You know, my most annoying thing, and what I feel so annoyed about it, you see professors sit under the tutelage of these idiots. Professors. You see academians sit down under the tutelage of these useless people on this pulpit. And they feel that thing, you can't even stand up to challenge it. Probably they are working together, that's what I feel. I know a lot of them. They do a lot of gimmicks to be able to extract money from you. And sometimes most people fall for it. Some time ago, Pastor Nenche, I will call names irrespective. Pastor Nenche attacked Ebe Damina, Dr. Damina, of him having a church that's racketeering, zero, what is it called? It say no results, this one, that one. But sometimes I laugh at people. Let me put it this way. That your church has crowd is actually, for me, it's a sign that you are failing. Yes. It's a sign that you are failing in this dispensation. This is not the time of Jesus. You are failing. How? If you teach people well, train people well, mentor people well, as a minister of God, your church should not be filled. You should not have a 10,000 seating auditorium, 50,000, 75,000 auditorium, which is a challenge in the Christendom. Everybody wants to have a biggest auditorium. It's a challenge. Meanwhile, the road to the auditorium are bad. There's no visible impact or community development stuff or kind of industry they've been able to build to develop people, to give people a job. People go and hustle, you still collect them. You get the point? Now, for your church is big and magnificent, it does not mean that you are successful. No. It means you are actually deceiving people. Because if you are telling people the truth, one truth alone can liberate the life of a man, and he doesn't need to be following you about anymore. He will in turn teach other people. Yes. One truth alone, a teacher, a preacher, a prophet reveals to a follower is enough to liberate his mind to the point that he doesn't need to be clustering around you anywhere. You don't need crowd anymore. Once you say the truth, people will go and disseminate those information to people. And when they do so, you don't necessarily need to have crowd anymore. You don't even need to be looking for money. Tell the people the truth. Somebody can empty his account and give you not for tithes, not for offering. Because of the truth you say to him years back that liberated his mind, that made him to make this fortune, that become the person he is today. That's how it's done. It's just like an Igbo man from Onitsha who picked a boy the master servant apprenticeship system that I practice in the south, from southeast. Who picks a son, train him up, take him to everywhere, teach him the rudiments, the business, how the business is being run, and the person learn those things. And the person become a boss tomorrow. Do you think he's going to forget his master? There's a master servant apprenticeship and relationship that is bonded. I know a lot of people who are successful in such a thing. So you as a priest, you begin to teach people the truth, not deception, not bringing people to play on all of that. I'm an actor. There's a lot of things you do on stage. I know all of them. I go play them for you. Go shock you. You say somebody to sleep, and they sleep, and you say it on the mic. The person, they hear them, they lie down, they raise their hand, they put them for ground. Nollywood, Nollywood, I didn't spoil this thing, self. My industry. What point am I trying to make? As a priest, tell the people the truth. Forget about building edifices, world-class edifices. To prove what? To show that you have everything, which means you are living in error. You are teaching people how to live in denial. Because they are living right, they can't be clustering your place at a time because they keep coming. What are they coming for? 10 people you taught good things, can disseminate information to 10 people. It's a network. It will go everywhere. So you don't need to keep having auditoriums everywhere. And again, you mustn't be a minister who preaches and owns church. You can also be doing business and preach through it. There are a lot of people who do that. Cosmos Madoka, you know him, Coscharis. He can preach to you. He's a multi-billionaire in Nigeria. In Africa. You don't even get time. You don't have time to play all these things you people play. But if he preaches to you, listen. He gives you things with proven facts, and you see them, and you begin to, you wonder, this man be like this, see they do all these things. It will shock you. That is what Christianity should be. Not situating yourself in a place and trying to lure people into believing rubbish and begin to extort money from them is an error.